नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. Okay, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, chapter number 13, verse number 41. Narada Uvacha Ma Kanchana Suyo Rajan Yad Ishvara Vasam Jagat Yokasapala Yasmin Yasyeme Vahanti Balim Ishtuta Sasam Yukti Bhutani Eva Vinyuktani Cha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A. Shri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Narada said, O pious king, do not lament for anyone, for everyone is under the control of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, all living beings and their leaders carry on worship to be well protected. It is He only who brings them together and disperses them. Every living being, either in the material world or in the spiritual world, is under the control of the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead. Beginning from Brahmaji, the leader of this universe, down to the insignificant ant, all are abiding by the order of the Supreme Lord. Thus, the constitutional position of the living being is subordination under the control of the Lord. The foolish living being, especially man, artificially rebels against the law of the Supreme and thus becomes chastised as Asura or lawbreaker. A living being is placed in a particular position by the order of the Supreme Lord, and he is again shifted from that place to that place by the order of the Supreme Lord or his authorized agents. Brahma, Shiva, Indra, Chandra, Maharaj Yudhishthira, and in modern history, Napoleon, Akbar, Alexander, Gandhi, Subhash, and Nehru, all are servants of the Lord, and they are placed in and removed by their respective positions by the supreme will of the Lord. None of them is independent. Even though such men or leaders rebel so as not to recognize the supremacy of the Lord, they are put in under the still more rigorous laws of material world by different miseries. Only the foolish men, therefore, say that there is no God. Maharaj Yudhishthira was being convinced of this naked truth because he was greatly overwhelmed by the sudden departure of his old uncles and aunt. Maharaj Dasharatha was Maharaj Dhritarashtra was placed in the position according to his past deeds, and he had already suffered or enjoyed the benefits accrued to him in the past. But due to his good luck, somehow or other he had a good younger brother, Vidura, and by his instruction he left to achieve salvation by closing all accounts of the material world. Ordinarily, one cannot change the course of one's due happiness and distress by plan. Everyone has to accept that they come under the subtle arrangement of Kala or inconceivable time. There is no use trying to counteract them. The best thing is therefore that one should endeavor to achieve salvation, and this prerogative is given only to man because of his developed conditioned mental activities and intelligence. Only for man there are different Vedic instructions for attainment of salvation during the human form of existence. One who misuses the opportunity of advanced intelligence is verily condemned and put into different types of miseries, either in the present life or in the future. That is the way the Supreme controls. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Parashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Itiramane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubheva patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna everyone, welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam class on this wonderful Friday morning. Before I speak a few words on this very elevated topic that Narada Muni is instructing Yudhishthira Maharaj on, I'd like to seek to the blessings of all the Vaishnavas. Now, I just realized about an hour ago that it was my turn to speak today. So I quickly put some points together, not very well thought of, but if anybody can join the middle, add on your comments or whatnot, I'll really appreciate it. So where we are in this current topic is, we saw how early on in this chapter, Vidura came back to Hastinapura after his yatra, after his going around pilgrimage. And he instructed his brother Dhritarashtra on the topic of spirituality, and he makes a suggestion: leave this palace. And then we saw how, Dhritarashtra left the palace, and then Yudhishthira Maharaj, after performing his daily duties in the morning, he came to take blessings from the elders, and he found that Yudhishthira Maharaj was Dhritarashtra and Gandhari and Vidura, all three of them were missing in the palace. He inquires from Sanjaya, and Sanjaya describes, what has happened. And then at that moment, when Yudhishthira was going, under lamentation, Narada Muni appears. So it is so wonderful, how Krishna arranges everything, right? What was the purpose of Narada Muni appearing here, right? It is definitely Krishna's arrangement. Narada Muni appears there to instruct Yudhishthira Maharaj, but actually instruct each one of us, right? He's just, Yudhishthira Maharaj is an eternal associate of the Supreme Lord. So the word that really strikes chord here in this particular verse, Narada Muni is just starting to speak philosophy. He's trying to instruct Yudhishthira Maharaj now. The next three verses are very beautiful verses. Actually, the next two verses are even more nectarian because it gives some great examples. Narada Muni gives some great examples. I don't want to touch on that. I want to leave it to the next two speakers. I'll try to keep away from those two examples, but those are really beautiful examples. So the main word, unfortunately, Veda base was not working. I really wanted to do click and go. The main word here is control. So let us try to look through this whole purport and today's verse. What does this word control mean, right? So, let us go sentence by sentence, right? Sri Narada said, "O pious king, do not lament for everyone is under the control of the Supreme Lord." So we see how Yudhishthira Maharaj is lamenting. So let us think for a moment, why is Yudhishthira Maharaj lamenting? Dhritarashtra and Gandhari and Vidura left the palace, and he's lamenting because they left the palace, right? But what is the true reason why he's lamenting? The way it is explained is Yudhishthira Maharaj, because his subjects, basically Dhritarashtra and Gandhari were very old people and also handicapped in the sense like Dhritarashtra was blind, and Gandhari was also, equally blind because she took that voluntary. And they were old, they're very old. So he felt like they were their dependents. Yudhishthira Maharaj, they depended on Yudhishthira Maharaj for protection. That is what Yudhishthira Maharaj felt. He felt that they need protection at this old age, and they're handicapped. And I am the one who is supposed to give them protection. Now, if they left, who is going to give them protection? So he's lamenting that he's unable to perform, protect Dhritarashtra and Gandhari and Vidura. But here Narada Muni is breaking that, right? There is no point to lament because it is not you who is giving protection. It is the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is giving protection to every living entity. we'll also touch upon that verse. I'll try to quote a verse from Bhagavad Gita actually in this context. But in general, right, Yudhishthira Maharaj, Narad Muni is trying to emphasize how Krishna is the protector of every living entity. Krishna is the controller of, often when we think about protection, what does protection mean? We seek protection from dangers, meaning we seek protection from our enemies. If you're in a forest, you seek protection from wild animals. If the weather is bad, you seek protection from the elements of the weather. You seek protection from our rivals and everything, right? But one should understand Krishna is the controller of those enemies also. And we see so many examples, right? How Draupadi got protection from Krishna. So he's a controller. And later on, I think the examples are really beautiful. I am trying hard to stay away from those examples. So how Krishna protects them, right? And therefore, and then what is the conclusion that Narad Muni is saying? Therefore, all living beings and their leaders carry on worship to be well protected. The point here is leaders. Why Narad Muni is especially highlighting leaders? While the protection to the subjects or the living entities, for example, in this case, Yudhishthira Maharaj is the king, he's the leader, and he, in one sense, he's protecting his kingdom, through his army, through his generals, through his own capabilities, administrative powers. He's protecting the subjects. But what Narad Muni is saying here is how a true leader actually gives protection through the worship, through the worship of the Supreme Lord. They carry on the worship of the Supreme Lord so that they become the instruments of protection for the people in general. So that's why he's pointing out two things. All living beings and their leaders who both need protection or giving protection, they worship the Supreme Lord to seeking that protection. And then he only brings them together and disperses them. This is another thing, right? Beautiful example, right? I think one of the examples we hear from Bhagavatam, and I'm trying to stay away from the examples that come in the next two sections, is how do living entities come together and they get separated out, right? A simple example, right? In our own life, we see, each one of us is playing different roles. We're playing the role of a mother, we're playing the role of a father, you're playing the role of a son or whatnot, right? How is that, I feel obligated or I feel a sense of responsibility of protecting my family. And why this individual soul? Why not somebody else? Why not a different soul? Right? For some reason, we feel so obligated that we have to protect our family through either financial ways or in many different ways, right? If they encounter danger, even if, for example, if my son is riding a bike, I'm always hoping that he's protected. I will say, don't go on the road, don't go this way, don't go that way. We feel obligated to protection. How is that possible? The point I'm trying to make again here is to highlight this last piece. Why this soul? Why not a different soul? Right? One may feel obligated, it's my duty, it is my dharma, because he's my son, he's my daughter, she's my daughter, they are my dependents, my grandfather. And in this case, Yudhishthira Maharaj is thinking, he is my uncle, I have to protect him. But now that uncle has left this place, in many of our cases, this is going to happen. Our children are going to go to college, they're going to grow, they're going to grow their own feathers, they're going to grow out. And a lot of people go through this emotion. I'm not in the shoes, but I'm speaking theoretically, but a lot of parents feel the same thing when their children go to college. How do they eat? Where do they get their food? Are they safe and whatnot, right? But how much control do we have on that? Because by the will of providence, people come together, they stay together for some time, and they get separated out. But during the time that we come together, we feel that there's a role and a responsibility that each one of us plays. And then when we are being separated out, there is this pain, or there's this anxiety, or there's this worry about, okay, who will take care of these, my child, who will take care of my dependents, who will take care of my family when this separation comes out. And Narada Muni is dispelling, or giving the truth here. He's opening the eyes with knowledge. He's saying that Krishna is the protector, Krishna is the controller of all these living entities. And he's the one who's bringing us together. He's the one who's separating us out. The example, a very nice example that comes in Srimad Bhagavatam is, by the will of providence, two pieces of straw come together when they're floating in the Ganges. So when Ganges is flowing all the way from Himalayas down to the Bay of Bengal, right? There is so much debris that falls in the Ganges. There's forests, like there's leaves that fall and everything. And the example that is given is two leaves that fall from a tree and into the water of the Ganges. They come together as Ganges is flowing. They come together at some point. And then after, they may stay together for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a day together if they get entangled. And then at some point they get separated out again. So that is a great example, right? This Ganges, in one sense, is Kala, or time. Time is bringing these two leaves together by the will of providence. And then these two leaves are getting separated out after some time by the will of providence again. But it is foolish for someone to think these two leaves may have come from the same tree, these two leaves are of the same kind, or these two leaves are going to be eternally together. Or even if these two leaves are, because these two leaves are together, they're not shattering apart. It is foolish to think of it. It is just Kala. It is only a matter of time when things come together. It's only a matter of time when things get separated out. So I'll go into the purport now quickly, but I want to start from the last one. I read it several times, but it dawned on me only when I read it in this, when I read it for you all a few minutes ago, right? Here, this sentence really struck me in the last moment, because early on I was thinking, how do I want to present control? What does control mean, right? And it just dawned upon me now, right? What he says is, here, I'll go reverse a little bit, right? The best thing is, therefore, that one should endeavor to achieve salvation and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Only for man, there are different Vedic instructions to attainment of salvation during the human form of existence. So this is the only opportunity that's available is for the human beings. One who misuses this opportunity of advancement, of advanced intelligence, is verily condemned and put into different types of miseries, either in the present life or in the future. That is the way the Supreme controls everyone. So how does Krishna control everyone? Srila Prabhupada is very beautifully putting here, right? When one misuses their independence that is given to them, right? What is the independence we have? The independence we have is either you use the energy that is given to you. It could be in many forms, but I'll speak of one form of energy that is given to each one of us. Do you use that energy for advancement of your spiritual knowledge, or you misuse that for something else? Based on the decision you make for that, one is put into different types of miseries, either in the present life or in the future life, and that is where the Supreme Lord is controlling everyone. Okay, so with that in mind, right, with the definition of control in mind, let us see the purport, right? Every living being, either in this material world or in the spiritual world, is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is inevitable. One may strive for freedom, one may strive for, I think that is very popular, right? Freedom of speech, freedom of liberty, and everything, right? That's the motto that we live in. But do we really have freedom, or are we under the control of something? We are always in the control of something. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita itself, right? Daivi esha gunamaya mama maya dharatya. We are always in the control of the modes of material nature. So, one thing that really strikes me in my mind, right, when we talk about freedom, I remember, we always hear, right, Krishna loves us, and the way Krishna expresses his love towards us is giving us freedom or free will. Something that really struck me, and I've heard this several times, but it never struck me. One day, His Holiness Ramapad Swami was giving a class in our house, and I asked him a question. Basically, I said, we always say Krishna gives us free will, and this was actually a question that came in my Sunday school discussion. The kid said, Krishna gives us freedom, meaning he says you have free will, but at the same time he's giving us punishment. Earlier we saw, right, if we use our freedom to do something that is not Krishna conscious, we accrue sin. So then, is technically Krishna giving us freedom? He's saying, if I'm giving you free will, but at the same time you are saying, if I do something wrong, you're going to punish me. Is that actually freedom? Maharaj, he immediately said one thing: you're never free. While we talk about free will, he says you are never free. It was a shocking statement for me, right? And then he explained the example of Srimad Bhagavatam. He said, the freedom, what Bhagavatam says is equal to the rope that ties a cow to a stack. Is a cow free? Yes, it is free within the slack it has in the rope that it's tied to. Or one may see the other way and say, no, it does not have freedom because it is tied. So similarly, the living entity has enough freedom within the slack it is given, but it is up to the living entity to behave in such a way that the amount of slack it gets is determined by its actions. So basically, a simple example I remember in my childhood, I come from a village background, and we have cows and whatnot. We used to have some cows which are very good cows, meaning they never rebel, they don't run away and whatnot, right? So those cows, they have a longer slack. And the cows that are rebellious, they tend to poke people. If you come close to them, they are given a shorter slack. Is there discrimination? No. It is because of the behavior of the cow, a certain amount of slack was given to it. So similarly, the individual living entity has freedom, or it is being controlled, but the freedom it experiences totally depends upon its own choices that it has made in the past. So that is what exactly is happening here, right? When the Supreme Lord is controlling everybody, he's controlling the living entities in this material world, and he's also controlling the living entities in the spiritual world. But the amount of freedom or the amount of flexibility they get depends upon their consciousness. And then as we go further down, Srila Prabhupada beautifully explains, irrespective of who you are, the living entity, right? From the beginning, from Brahmaji, the leader of the universe, down to the insignificant ant, all are abiding by the order of the Supreme Lord. Thus, the constitutional position of the living being is subordination under the control of the Lord. This is something we need to understand 100%, not theoretically, right? Our constitutional position is we are under the control of the Supreme Lord. So it's not easy to understand. I would say it's not easy to realize, because we feel that we are the doers every moment. For some reason, we feel that. If I do not eat, I will go hungry. If I do not work, I will not get food. It looks pretty straightforward that we are, that our endeavor is in there. But something that is not very tangible, if something that is not very gross, because we do, gross things we realize very quickly, meaning I go to work, I hit some keys on my computer, I work, and some paycheck, ends up in my, in my bank, and then that money is bringing me food, right? It is very gross in its nature. So we feel that we are the controllers here. The something that is very subtle is the ordinance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavad Gita talks about who are the doers, right? Is it I who is performing the work? Is it the circumstances or the material nature that is facilitating things? Or is it Supreme Law, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's approving things? So the approval of the Supreme Lord is very hard to perceive unless one is very, very Krishna conscious, unless one is very, very cautiously observing the Supreme Lord around him. A simple example is, it is spring now. How did the sun come about? Right? Did we do anything about it? But it still happened. That is because of the Supreme Lord. We fail to observe the things that happen for granted in our life every day. We are breathing and everything, right? We fail to observe those little things where the Supreme Lord is doing everything. Even like if you have an itch, you're taking your hand and you're scratching it. Did you make the hand? Did you make your finger? Just a small thing. I'll try to quickly conclude it. This one hand is a miracle in itself, right? I'll give an example, right? If you are into robotics, meaning if you know how robots are made and whatnot, and especially in manufacturing environment, there is certain robots which can lift heavy, big stuff. And there are certain robots which can do small stuff like electronic pins and whatnot. It is a totally different instrument that has to, one hand cannot do the other hand's job. But this one hand that is given to us by Krishna, just by putting 5 fingers, Krishna creates a miracle here. And just by putting fingerprints here, right in this finger, there are small lines that exist. That small lines is a miracle in itself. It helps you pick up anything. The reason I can pick up this mouse is because of those lines that exist in this finger. If those lines do not exist, there is no friction between this object and my hand. And this same finger can pick up a big object as big as this, and a teeny, like a dust particle is right, that's right here. I don't think you can see. This teeny dust particle it can pick up. But with years and years of research, that one single hand, a robotic hand, cannot do these two things at the same time. Picking up a big object and a small object, it cannot do that thing at the same time. That in itself is a miracle, actually. So, there are so many things that are, what I want to say is there are so many things that are happening within our life that are beyond our control. Absolutely beyond our control. But for some reason, we think we are the controllers. For the little things that we do, for example, I think I work hard, I do this, I do that, and I make money. But if I buy a tomato and a capsicum and make a curry and put it in my mouth, after that, it's not under my control. It looks like I made the food, I ate the food. But after that, am I doing anything so that my body can get nourishment? Absolutely not. So who is the controller here? I feel that I'm the controller, but am I really the controller? I was just an instrument. I was an instrument in putting this body, there's a choice. Yes, I am an instrument in putting what kind of food I put into this body. But after that, my free will is gone. How my body digests, how things happen within my body, is that food being absorbed? We have vitamin deficiencies and whatnot because the body cannot absorb. Is that in my control? No, absolutely not. So in summary, what I want to, I don't have time to go through everything, but Srila Prabhupada points out so many great people here. He points about great people that are mentioned in the Vedas. He points about great people, the so-called great people mentioned, in the recent history, like Napoleon, Akbar, Alexander. they are all, they achieve something really, really great and wonderful. But eventually, by destiny, by Kala, they have to go to a new destiny. So, in essence, what I want to control and what I want to conclude with is this verse, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam praja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma suchaha. In there, the highlight is mamekam sharanam praja, surrendering, right? And in that context, the acharyas explain what does surrender mean. And in that, they give 6 aspects of surrender. Anukulyasya sankalpa, pratikulyasya varchanam, rakshayate viswaso, gurpatre varnam tata. So in those 6, anukulyasya sankalpa, which is accept what is favorable, pratikulyasya varchanam, reject what is unfavorable. Rakshayate viswaso, this is what I want to talk about. Rakshayati and gurpatre varnam tata. Rakshayate viswaso means, who is your protector? Have faith that Krishna is your protector. And Krishna is not just a protector for you, Krishna is a protector for the ones who you are protecting. And Goptrite Varnam Tata. Who is my maintainer? Krishna is my maintainer, nothing else. And that's pretty obvious. We feel that we are maintaining ourselves, but it is very obvious. So Krishna is my maintainer and nothing else. Nobody else is my maintainer. Those 2 are the most important things. Okay, this is where I would like to end. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak on this wonderful verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Whatever I spoke is just theoretical. I hope I can implement what I said. If something good came out, it's only because of Srila Prabhupada's purpose here. So I'd like to open for any discussion or questions. All right, going once, going twice. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
So it looks that we can get relief from the mentality of controllership, or the illusion of controllership, or pressure of controllership actually, and then just keep on happily doing your best of the devotional service, possible in one's ability. Is that the line here, Prabhu?
Can you repeat it? Can you repeat it again, Prabhuji?
It kind of looks to me that most of the time, we're all concerned about the result of the fruit of what we are doing.
Yes.
We want to get the thing done or get someone taken care, and then we want to control.
Yes.
Actually, now I'm thinking also the disease of this world is to lord out the material nature. That's what it is mentioned in different places, as the people's mentality is to lord out the material nature, or like in this context, I want to see that things go my way. Whatever I plan, it should work.
Yes,
if it doesn't, then I'll be unhappy. If it works, awesome. I'll be the king. I'll be the boss. It looks like that is being shattered here, or the conditioned soul the small soul is getting relieved of that responsibility. No, your part is only doing your best in service to Krishna or Guru Shastra. The rest is actually the boss. The whatever control can happen or whatever thing can happen, it's only lies. It's not in your ability or quota. It's actually Krishna's ability and quota. But is that I'm trying to get clarified? Is that the theme you see, Prabhu?
I believe so, Prabhuji. At least the point in my mind, at least my recent meditation I will share is, I think, it just dawned upon me last week. I teach Sunday school, and we started reading Srimad Bhagavatam from the beginning, right? And it never struck a chord until now, and all of a sudden it really struck the chord for me last Sunday. What it is the context is just now Shaunak Rishi is replying. Sutta Goswami is answering question 1 and question 2, right? He's answering question 1 and question 2 of the 6 questions that the sages of Naimisharanya put forth. And maybe this is at the basic level, what he states is, in the 2 answers that he gives, the first question was, okay, I'm going blank, but the theme is, what is the essence of all scriptures and what is true dharma, right?
Yeah.
What is religious principles, right?
Yeah.
And then he answers immediately within the first 2 verses. He answers this both the questions in just 2 verses. And he says, the constitutional position of the living entity is, he is eternal servant of Krishna. And the goal of life is to establish his relationship back with Krishna, right? If I take from that perspective, right, our controllership, what are we trying to control, right?
Yeah.
Anything that we do beyond establishing our relationship to Krishna is temporary.
Yes.
I think earlier we said is whatever we're trying to achieve, it is temporary in nature.
And illusory.
Whatever success we make in establishing our relationship to Krishna, that is what is permanent. I don't know if there is parallels between what you asked and this. Because I'm meditating on that, for some reason my mind keeps going there. What I feel is everything that we do, if it is not helping us move forward towards Krishna, it's a waste of time.
Actually, that also correlates to the definition of sadhana bhakti for nectar devotion. It says engaging the senses with the goal of attaining bhava to Krishna, which is already there naturally in the soul's heart. So strikes the chord. Yeah, I mean, the answer I'm getting is it's not a straightforward at this point. Whether I need to take responsibility whether things are in control or not. For example, I'm carrying the child, I'm carrying a service or something like that. So
it is a consciousness, right, Prabhuji? Meaning the same activity, same Arjuna is fighting the same battle. It is a consciousness, right? Meaning my activity of taking care of someone, if it is going to help me move forward in Krishna consciousness, right? Then you're establishing you're executing your dharma.
Things nicely, yeah.
Yeah, right. I think where Sutta Goswami, he gives a nice example. That is the verse that really stuck the chord for me. What he says is, when you're executing your duties, right? He says, when you're executing your duties, give me one second. I'm trying to phrase it exactly how I read. When you're executing your duties, sometimes you may get, don't do it for material gain. First he says is, don't execute your dharma for material gain.
Yeah.
So when I'm doing my services, when I'm do something, right? For example, if I'm serving a child, I'm doing this, don't do it for material gain.
Yeah.
But he also says, in doing your religious duty, if you get material gain, it is inevitable. Sometimes you will get material gain.
Yeah, yeah.
When you get material gain, don't use that for sense gratification. Those are the 2 points we make.
That's very nice. So both ways, the object is affection for Krishna, the loving feelings for Krishna. That sets the standard of how much to do and how much not to do. Here, Maharaj Yudhishthira may lament as long as it is helping to get closer to Krishna. But if it is not, then he has to keep a check, kind of a thing.
Yeah, and I think that's why maybe Narada Muni came here, right? He came to say, there's no point in lamenting. Don't run after finding Dhritarashtra. He's finding his own spirituality. Now you continue your duty, right? Maybe that could be it.
Yeah. Sure, Prabhu. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you for churning it a little bit, Prabhu. Yes. All right. Anybody else has comments or questions? Okay. Lingaraj Prabhu, I think we'll end it here for today. Vandara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Sorry,
Somebody was
Prabhu,
saying.
you're available. I had one clarification needed.
Yes, Mataji. Mm-hmm.
So the takeaway from this class is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we all are given our duties, our dharma, and we are all performing those. We still, though we understand that, Lord is the supreme controller, we still have to perform our duties in the best way possible so that we build our connection with the Lord in the best way possible. Is that what I'm understanding? Correct?
Yes, Mataji. But at the same time, I think we have to understand that Krishna is the controller. I think the theme I was trying to get out of this is this word called controller.
Yeah.
Even when we perform our duties, we should understand that, it apparently looks like we are doing it, we are controlling everything, but absolutely not. It is Krishna who is the controller. Often what happens is, something that's really feels under our control, we feel it until it is really tested, right? Meaning, how do I put it? I'm trying to think of an example, right? Say, for example, right, I'm doing my work and everything seems to be going fine. Only when something goes really, really wrong, I come to an understanding that I am not the controller. Okay, can I take a few minutes to explain something that I've been trying to really, really meditate the last couple of weeks? Most of you are familiar with this this trial that went in America, right? The court case between Derek Chauvin and George Floyd state, right? I hope you're familiar. It's about something that happened, right? What I had a very, very hard time understanding is this particular police officer 15 minutes ago had no intention to be in that spot. He was not even assigned that particular zone to go and, he's not in that zone where he has to go there. He decided on his own to go and help because there were two new officers, two new people, totally, they were just very fresh into the police force. He decided to go there and help them. And all of a sudden, the whole story changes. Right? I'm not being empathetic to what actions he took and what kind of decisions he made. For me, it was like 15 minutes before that incident. He was not destined to be there because he was assigned a totally different zone. His intentions of going there was to help his fellow police officers. And all of a sudden, his whole life changed because of that one intention to help someone. I had a hard time digesting that one, right? Why? Sometimes we also are in that situation. We feel that, okay, I tried to do the right thing, and all of a sudden you get sucked into a totally different situation. Why? Right? And that is still something I'm trying to digest too, right? And all of a sudden things become beyond your circumstance. You make some bad decisions at that moment, and that creates a whole lot of havoc in the whole world. And then your whole life is turned upside down. This verse kind of answered that for me today. Right?
Yeah,
It may feel that I am the controller at that moment, but it is an accumulation of the whole lot of choices I made in my current life, my previous life, and my previous life. So what we think that we are controlling and we are able to control now is actually not true. It's going to unfold based on our previous karma. Mataji, you were going to say something. I'd like to speak there.
No, that's okay. So very right. That's a very good example in this context. So, and we study that, right? Like ultimately, we still have to try our best to do what we are supposed to do, but we understand that we are not the controller. And that's why you don't you don't worry about the results of your action, you know. But my point that I was trying to clarify is you still try to do your action. Of course, Krishna is giving us the intelligence to do that, but you still perform your action that you're supposed to, as you know, as explained in our scriptures, is what I'm trying to get. Yes, whatever happens, whatever I perform my action in that moment, you know, I will be facing the results of that, but it's still my action, my performance, that I need to do it in the best way possible.
Absolutely, Mataji, yes. Now to add on to that, right? From that action, there will be a result, right?
Yes, yes.
How do you respond to that result is also
important.
Really matters.
Yes.
Yep.
And then
Because,
whatever I did, yeah. So whatever my actions were, and if the results are positive, negative, whatever, then I know that I am leaving that, you know, to the Supreme Controller. Yeah. Yeah.
oh, yes, Mataji, but I want to make that complete in the sense like, say, for example, I did some activity A, it resulted in B, right? And you no longer have control on A because it's already done, right? Now, how do you respond to B will determine C, right?
Which is
So
true. Right? No, go ahead.
there is a sense of responsibility for the result that came out also.
Yes, that's why we have to perform our actions in the best way possible, because yes, it is my responsibility. But I still, whether the A or the B, whatever, I'm performing with my basic knowledge, my intelligence. You know, it will affect, yes, but then I am doing my responsibility the best way possible. So whatever the results then are from A that goes to B, it will still be, you know, like in the control of the Lord.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Mataji. Yeah, the intricacies of action and reaction are very hard to perceive. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself says, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yes.
Okay. All right. Anybody wants to add anything to this? You know, this beautiful question by Kiran Mataji. Okay, we'll end it here for today.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Dandavat Pranam Ki Jai. Thank you so much for your class. I was thinking just the way the doctor works. That's the patient dies or patient is basically saved. That's not in his hand. That's Krishna's hand. That's one example that came up.
Yes, Prabhuji. I think that's a beautiful example. The doctor gives his best. Yeah. Go ahead, Mataji.
I'm actually thinking about that because we faced this yesterday. And Prabhuji really hit on the nail. Like, you know, you put in the best you can, and then ultimately, you know, you have to leave the results to the Lord. Yeah.
Yes, Mataji. I think that's perfect. Yeah.
I'm thinking to add.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Like, yes, as you said, when the good results come, yes, for sure, it's Krishna's mercy. But if the things doesn't go, it looks like we need to take responsibility for that, not put it on Krishna's mercy. It didn't work.
Yes, Prabhuji. I think the responsibility goes both ways, right? Like whether it's good or bad. Again, if it's good, I am giving, you know, the credit to the Lord that, you know, he gave me the intelligence to do what I did. And
yes, because I'm drawing up on, like MohanaLila Prabhu said previously, if anything good, for sure it was Prabhupada's purports. But otherwise, I'm trying to do my best.
Yes.
Just wrong way, something in the sorts. Sorry for adding confusion, Prabhu.
No, I think that's a beautiful point, because sometimes there can be escapism too, right? For the failures, we may just say, Krishna willing, I left the, I left the bhoga on the, on the stove and let it burn, and say, Krishna willing, he wanted burnt prasadam today, right? Yes, Prabhuji. I think this is great. A lot to meditate on. I would definitely recommend everyone to continue meditating on this, because there are going to be two beautiful examples then tomorrow and after tomorrow. And luckily it is Saturday and Sunday, so I'm sure the speakers will speak elaborately on those two examples, very beautiful examples. So stay tuned for Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, third time, we'll see if Krishna is willing to end this call. Grandharaj Srimad